Welcome back, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I'm Laura.
So this week we're here to talk about one of the destinations that we've narrowed our search down for.
Yes, we have. We've gotten a lot of feedback from everybody and some recommendations which help to guide our decision.
So we're going to talk about Mexico. Is Mexico the right choice? We don't know.
But we're going to find out.
We're
going to take you with us.
Whether you want to come or not, you will find out if Mexico is our proper choice.
So we've been to Mexico a few times now.
We have. So a little backstory. We have some friends that moved there, and they moved to Cozumel, which is a little island. So we visited them a couple of times and, got hooked down the idea of possibly making that our winter home or our full-time home. So that's where Mexico came into the picture for us.
Definitely. Yeah, they're an inspiring couple because they decided to leave Canada and go down really pre-pandemic, but just barely, and have made a fantastic life there, really enjoy living there. And I think that is what also has really appealed to us. They've got a couple of dogs and, they've been really good at helping to answer questions, as well as a fantastic little Airbnb that we were able to rent to take a trip or two there.
Yeah. So that's what kicked off this entire idea, actually, of moving somewhere other than Canada to see if it would work for us. Because as Laura said, their experience was inspiring. So we've learned a lot about Mexico. So we have been to Cozumel twice. I have been to San Miguel de Allende.
Yes.
Which is in the mountains. So kind of like mountains, ocean. Which do you prefer? And there were two totally different experiences in Mexico, which was refreshing and interesting and helps to inform our decision.
Well, we would never have even really known about San Miguel, except we took coffee at Cause Coffee one morning, and we ran into an expat who said that she was actually going to be moving there full time. And she had a home in both cities and had decided to move full-time to San Miguel de Allende. And I think that's kind of what triggered our interest in looking even to going there.
Yep. So, it's important to look at different places, look at different options, visit them, see if they work for you. And that's part of the journey, and that's what we're doing. So I guess Mexico in particular, it is a very popular spot for expats, for wintering or even moving full-time. And there are some common topics that people have questions about that we plan on digging into deeper in other episodes that we do. So one of them, as an example, is immigration. So how do you get there? How do you legally get there? Hello.
And how do we get the dogs there?
Yes. So they have temporary residency. They have permanent residency. There is a process for getting it. The dogs themselves, they don't require residency, but their owners do. And again, that's one of the things that drew us to Mexico a little bit as well, is you can drive to it from where we live, although it's a long drive, and it would be a very long drive with two large dogs. But that possibility exists. So not having to fly with your dogs is very appealing to us.
100%. And the dog care, I think, is very good there. One of the things that we talked about in our episode on goal setting was we wanted to ensure we had a dog-friendly country. And I think this one fits the bill from what we had seen. Dogs are accepted at the beach. They're accepted at some of the outdoor restaurants. So it won't be a stretch to actually incorporate them more into our lives. One of the things that had been a consideration more for our families was the crime rate. And I have to admit, I felt very safe every time that I have gone down to Mexico. I have never really considered it a problem. And I think it may be an episode that we would want to delve a little bit more into, even if it's just debunking that popular myth that it's a dangerous place to go to.
Yeah, there are a lot of other videos on YouTube that talk about debunking the myth, as you put it. And it's not safe anywhere. You have to be aware of your surroundings, no matter where you travel to or no matter where you live. And Mexico is no different. But again, if you're the sort of person that is not out at 2 a.m. spilling out into the streets drunk, I think you're just as safe as you are probably where you're living today, if not safer in some cases. So it's understanding that. And again, we're from Canada, so we get a lot of media. We get a lot of American media, and they seem to highlight the cartel crime a lot in Mexico. And again, if you're not there to buy drugs or be part of the cartel, that really doesn't apply that much to us. So.
No, and they do. I think that they actually take measures to ensure safety, especially in the more touristy areas, knowing that one of their biggest industry is tourism. So they're not going to do things to jeopardize it. And I truly believe that that's been incorporated into, their policing and their law enforcement and the visibility of such. And we've seen some really kind of cute interactions between police and expats that, were quite humorous and very much like you would see in Canada with, you can't park your car there, but I'm just in that restaurant there. It's like, okay, well, go and move your car. I'm not going to give you a ticket. Like, it's the same. I think people in police are pretty much the same wherever. And certainly our interactions have been very, very positive. They're used to people not understanding the language, going down the wrong way on a one-way street and being lost. So I think it's the same as it is here. A couple of the other things, though, that we talked about, wanting to ensure that we chose a location that would be serving us long-term, was around healthcare. We want to make sure that if we can take our work healthcare there, what the healthcare looks like. So I think we should probably do an episode on healthcare. We're not getting any younger, and we want to make sure that we have a way to get seen if we need to, and what that looks like, and the cost, I think, too. In Cozumel, they don't have an airport. Well, yeah, they do. They do have an airport right there, because yes, they do. He's laughing at me.
Do you think we swam?
Yeah. Well, they have a ferry, and I was thinking the ferry. But that's another thing, getting in and out of the country quickly and efficiently. Well, you were talking about driving, and I think we probably would, but we have flown right into Cozumel, and they've got a cute little airport there. Yeah. So I think that also is a bonus. And do you think we would need a car?
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about as we go down this journey, because part of what we were looking for was high walkability scores for a location, because we want to be active, we want to walk, we don't want to depend on a car to get everywhere, both from a cost perspective and a health perspective. So both places that we have visited in Mexico, you could do without a car, depending on where you were renting or living. But it's that creature comfort. It's knowing you can get in a car to drive somewhere that we're so dependent on. And I think it's kind of breaking that habit. That's probably the strongest reason that you feel like you still need a car.
Yep.
It's not really for everyday purposes. It's to know you have one if you need one. And there's a cost to having that peace of mind, I guess.
Well, I think just the general amenities too. We are kind of spoiled, and we're grateful for everything we have, but it is nice to have restaurants and some of the products. We'd like to learn, obviously, the language of wherever we end up, but making sure that there is still a strong, maybe English, what's the word I'm looking for? People know our language.
People can understand English?
Yeah, a little bit. Because I would hope they'd understand English better than I can understand Spanish, because I'm trying. But that's another thing that we would have to look into perhaps doing. I think it's good that we've actually given ourselves a spot, though, to start really delving in another layer. Because one of the things that has been concerning me is, are we going to have enough money to retire? So I think in the next couple of episodes, we should actually look at that. What does that look like? What are most people retiring on? Based on what our current incomes are, will we have to work? Would our pensions be enough to carry us? what is the cost of living, cost of groceries, cost of accommodation, what a monthly budget would look like, and what does that mean to us? Like, is it going to mean 2 years, 5 years, maybe going back and forth for a couple of years, or part-time for a couple of years to make that happen?
Yeah. So all of that is to come. This was really the introductory video in terms of Mexico is one of our target locations. We'll probably dive into Costa Rica as well. That's one we've both been interested in but have zero experience in. Where Mexico, we do have quite a bit of experience. So we're going to focus on Mexico for a few episodes.
Well, and I also think that down the line, we should really check out the good old US of A. I have a lot of family dotted throughout, and there are a lot of beautiful areas too that we could consider either, going back and forth in a not really semi-retirement, but living in Canada and then spending winters close by, or actually moving full time. And going back to immigration, because both my parents were American, would it be possible I could get American citizenship even at this late date? What would that look like? So I think there's a lot of topics there to talk about for each one of the locations that we're thinking about.
Yeah. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it for this episode. We'll see you soon.
Yep, and we'll bring you along on our journey. Lots of comments. We enjoy everybody's perspective as well as suggestions. We wouldn't actually be where we are right now in our journey without some of those comments coming back, especially the one in Costa Rica. It wasn't really on my radar. So thank you to those that recommended that location as well.
Bye-bye.